The notification lit up Emily Carter's phone at exactly 3:47 p.m. on a sunny Saturday afternoon. It was a photo. A wedding photo. Her sister Sarah was wearing a stunning white dress, radiant smile across her face, standing next to a man Emily had never seen before. The caption read, "Just married to the love of my life." Emily's hands started trembling. Her coffee cup slipped from her fingers, shattering against the hardwood floor of her apartment. This couldn't be real. Sarah was getting married? When? How? Why didn't anyone tell her? If you've ever felt the sting of family betrayal, if you've ever been left out of something that should have included you, stay with this story. Because what Emily is about to discover will change everything she thought she knew about her family. And before we dive deeper into this devastating truth, if stories like this resonate with you, consider subscribing to hear more real experiences that remind us we're not alone in our struggles. Emily's fingers frantically scrolled through her phone. More photos. Her mother was there, wearing an elegant navy dress, smiling wider than Emily had seen in years. Her aunts, her cousins, her grandmother, all dressed up, all celebrating. The wedding had happened today. Right now. Just hours ago. And Emily, Sarah's only sister, hadn't received a single invitation, not a phone call, not even a text message warning her it was happening. Her phone rang. It was Jessica, her best friend since college. "Emily, I just saw Sarah's post. What the hell is going on? You're at the wedding, right?" Emily's voice cracked when she tried to speak. "Jess, I didn't even know there was a wedding." The silence on the other end of the line said everything. "Oh my God, Emily. Are you serious? Your own sister?" Emily felt her chest tightening, the walls of her apartment suddenly feeling too close, too suffocating. This wasn't just an oversight. This wasn't a forgotten invitation lost in the mail. This was intentional. 28 years old, and Emily thought she had finally figured out her place in her family. She had moved to Boston 3 years ago for a marketing job at a tech startup. The distance from her family in Connecticut had actually improved their relationship, or so she believed. Monthly phone calls with her mother Barbara had become pleasant, superficial conversations about weather and work. Sarah, 2 years younger, had seemed to soften too. Their childhood rivalry had faded into occasional likes on each other's social media posts and brief text exchanges on birthdays. But now, staring at these wedding photos, Emily realized she had been living in a carefully constructed illusion. Someone had worked very hard to keep this wedding a secret from her. And the most likely architect of that deception was the woman who had given birth to her. Emily grabbed her car keys. Her hands were still shaking, but fury was starting to replace the shock. The drive from Boston to her mother's house in Hartford would take 2 hours. 2 hours to figure out what she was going to say. 2 hours to prepare for the confrontation that would either repair her family or destroy it completely. The autumn leaves were blazing orange and red along Interstate 84. Emily barely noticed them. Her mind was racing through every family interaction from the past 6 months, looking for clues she had missed. Had her mother mentioned Sarah dating anyone seriously? No. Had there been any hints about wedding plans? Nothing. Every conversation had been deliberately steered away from Sarah's personal life. Now Emily understood why. She pulled into her mother's driveway at 6:15 p.m. The house was a beautiful colonial-style home with white shutters and a wraparound porch, the kind of house that appeared in magazines about New England charm. Emily had grown up in this house. She had celebrated birthdays here, cried over breakups in her childhood bedroom, brought home her first serious boyfriend to meet her parents at this dining room table. This house held every memory of her life. And now it felt like enemy territory. Barbara's car was in the driveway. Emily took a deep breath and walked to the front door. She didn't knock. She used her key. The one her mother had given her years ago with the words, "You'll always have a home here, sweetie." Her mother was in the living room, still wearing the navy dress from the wedding, sitting on the couch with a glass of white wine, looking at photos on her tablet. She looked up when Emily entered, and for just a fraction of a second, guilt flashed across her face before it was replaced by defensive irritation. Emily. What are you doing here? What am I doing here? Emily's voice was dangerously quiet. Mom, Sarah got married today. Barbara took a sip of her wine, not meeting Emily's eyes. Yes, she did. It was a beautiful ceremony. And you didn't tell me. It was a small wedding. Very intimate. Sarah wanted to keep it simple. Small? Emily pulled out her phone, showing the photos. There are at least 50 people in these pictures. Aunt Linda is there. Cousin Marcus. Even Sarah's friends from high school that she hasn't talked to in years. Everyone was there. Everyone except me. Barbara stood up, setting her wine glass down with a sharp click against the coffee table. Emily, you need to understand. This was Sarah's day. Her choice. She didn't want any drama. Drama? What drama? When have I ever caused drama at a family event? Her mother's face hardened. You really want to have this conversation right now? Yes, Mom. I really do. Because I just found out my sister got married and my entire family conspired to hide it from me. So yes, let's have this conversation. Barbara walked to the window, looking out at the darkening street. When she spoke again, her voice was cold, controlled. Sarah didn't want you there because she was afraid you'd make it about yourself. Like you always do. The words hit Emily like a physical blow. Like I always do. What are you talking about? You know exactly what I'm talking about. Sarah's high school graduation. You showed up late and made a scene about your car breaking down, stealing attention. Her college acceptance. You had to announce your promotion the same day. Every single milestone Sarah has ever had, you found a way to overshadow it. Emily felt tears burning in her eyes. That's not fair. My car actually broke down. And I shared my promotion news because I was excited. I wasn't trying to take anything away from Sarah. That's how you saw it. That's not how Sarah saw it. That's not how any of us saw it. Barbara turned back to face her daughter, and Emily saw something in her mother's eyes she had never seen before. It wasn't just annoyance or frustration. It was something deeper. Something that looked almost like resentment. Sarah has always been in your shadow, Emily. The perfect older sister. The one who got straight A's, who was captain of the debate team, who got into her first choice college with a full scholarship. Do you have any idea how hard it's been for her? Everyone always compared her to you. Teachers, relatives, even her friends' parents. Why can't you be more like Emily? Emily never had trouble with math. Emily already knew what she wanted to do with her life at your age. I never asked for that. I never asked anyone to compare us. No, but you enjoyed it, didn't you? Being the golden child. Being the one everyone praised. Emily sank into the armchair, feeling like the floor had disappeared beneath her feet. Is this really what you think of me? That I'm some kind of narcissist who deliberately tried to hurt my sister? Barbara's silence was answer enough. If what Emily's about to uncover sounds shocking, drop the word, betrayed, in the comments. Because this is only the beginning of the secrets her family has been keeping. And if you're invested in Emily's story, hit that subscribe button. You won't want to miss what happens next. The room felt colder, darker. Emily looked at her mother, really looked at her, and saw a stranger. How long have you felt this way about me? Barbara sat back down, suddenly looking exhausted. Emily, it's not about how I feel about you. It's about what's best for both of my daughters. Sarah needed this. She needed one day that was completely hers, without worrying about being compared to you. So the solution was to exclude me entirely? To let me find out through social media that my sister got married? Do you have any idea how humiliating that is? How much that hurts? I know it hurts. But Sarah's happiness had to come first this time. Why can't both of us be happy? Why does it have to be a choice? Her mother didn't answer. The silence stretched between them, heavy with years of unspoken resentments Emily hadn't even known existed. Emily stood up. I need to talk to Sarah. She's on her honeymoon. They left for the Bahamas 2 hours ago. Of course they did. Planned perfectly to avoid any confrontation. Emily walked toward the door, then turned back. When did you decide you loved her more than me? Emily, don't be dramatic. It's not dramatic, Mom. It's a real question. When did you decide that protecting Sarah's feelings meant destroying mine? When did you decide I didn't deserve to be treated like part of this family? Barbara's eyes filled with tears, but she still didn't answer. Emily left, closing the door quietly behind her. The drive back to Boston was a blur. She didn't remember getting on the highway. She didn't remember parking her car. She just remembered sitting in her dark apartment, staring at her phone, looking at photo after photo of a celebration she should have been part of. At midnight, Emily did something she hadn't done in years. She opened the box in her closet where she kept old photo albums. Physical photographs from before everything was digital. She found what she was looking for in the third album. A photo from Sarah's 8th birthday party. Emily was 10 years old in the picture, standing behind Sarah as she blew out the candles on her cake. Emily's hand was on Sarah's shoulder, and both girls were smiling. They looked happy. They looked like sisters who loved each other. What had happened between that moment and now? When had love turned into competition? When had sisterhood become a battlefield? Emily kept looking through the photos. There she was, teaching Sarah to ride a bike. Holding Sarah's hand on her first day of kindergarten. Braiding Sarah's hair before her middle school dance. Every photo told the same story. Emily had been a good sister. She had loved Sarah. She had tried to protect her, guide her, support her. But somewhere along the way, that narrative had been rewritten. Somehow, Emily had become the villain in her own family's story. And she didn't know why. The next morning, Emily woke up with a pounding headache and a determination that felt like steel in her chest. She wasn't going to let this go. She needed answers. Real answers. Not her mother's defensive justifications, but the truth about why her family had turned against her. She started with her Aunt Linda. Linda had always been the cool aunt, the one who told inappropriate jokes at Thanksgiving and snuck the cousins' wine at Christmas. If anyone would be honest with Emily, it would be Linda. Aunt Linda, it's Emily. Can we talk? There was a long pause on the other end of the line. Oh, sweetie. Your mom told me you found out about the wedding. Why didn't you tell me? You were there. You saw it happening. Why didn't anyone think to call me? Linda sighed deeply. Emily, honey, it's complicated. Barbara asked all of us not to say anything. She said it was what Sarah wanted. But you didn't think that was wrong? You didn't think I deserved to know my own sister was getting married? I did. I told Barbara it was wrong. But she was adamant. She said if anyone told you, they wouldn't be welcome at the wedding either. She made everyone choose. Emily felt sick. And everyone chose Sarah. We chose to respect Barbara's wishes. It's her house, her money that paid for most of the wedding. We didn't have much choice. You always have a choice, Aunt Linda. You could have called me. You could have warned me. But you didn't. Emily, I'm sorry. I really am. But there's more to this than you know. Your mother and Sarah, they've been dealing with a lot. Things you might not be aware of. Like what? That's not my story to tell. You need to talk to your sister. But Sarah was unreachable. Her phone went straight to voicemail. Her social media accounts were posting automated vacation updates, tropical beaches and sunset cocktails. Emily's messages went unanswered. Emily couldn't eat. She couldn't focus on work. Her boss noticed and gave her a few days off, which only made things worse because now she had nothing to do but obsess over the betrayal. She spent hours analyzing every family interaction from the past year, looking for patterns she'd missed. Then she remembered something. 6 months ago, she had tried to visit home for a weekend, a surprise visit. Her mother had been strange on the phone, almost panicked. She'd said it wasn't a good time, that she had the flu, that Emily shouldn't come. Emily had thought it was odd but had accepted the explanation. Now she wondered what had really been happening that weekend. Emily opened her laptop and did something she wasn't proud of. She logged into her old family phone account. When she was younger, the whole family had been on the same phone plan to save money. Emily had gotten her own plan when she moved to Boston, but she still remembered the password to the family account. Her mother had never bothered to change it. She accessed the phone records. Her mother's calls and texts from the past 6 months appeared on the screen. Emily felt guilty for invading her mother's privacy, but the guilt was overpowered by her need for answers. What she found made her blood run cold. Texts between her mother and Sarah. Hundreds of them. Planning the wedding in meticulous detail. But more than that. Conversations about Emily. Strategies for keeping her in the dark. Lies they would tell if she asked questions. It was all there. A conspiracy documented in digital evidence. One text from 3 months ago made Emily's hands shake. Sarah, what if Emily finds out before the wedding? Mom, she won't. I've made sure of it. You deserve this day without her stealing your spotlight. Trust me, sweetie. This is for the best. Another from 2 months ago. Sarah, I feel guilty about lying to her. She's still my sister. Mom, stop feeling guilty. Remember how she treated you at your graduation? This is karma. She gets what she deserves. Emily's heart was breaking with each text she read. This wasn't just about the wedding. This was about a pattern of resentment that had been building for years. Her mother had been actively poisoning Sarah against her, feeding her sister's insecurities, turning normal sibling dynamics into evidence of Emily's supposed cruelty. But the text that destroyed Emily completely was from a month ago. Sarah, sometimes I miss having a sister. Before everything got so complicated. Mom, you have a sister. You have me. Blood doesn't make family. Love and loyalty do. And Emily has shown she's not loyal to this family anymore. Emily closed the laptop. She felt numb. This was worse than she had imagined. This wasn't a simple oversight or a bridezilla moment. This was systematic exclusion. Her mother had been slowly erasing her from the family for months, maybe years, and Emily had been too distant, too trusting, to notice. She thought about the monthly phone calls with her mother. All those pleasant, superficial conversations. Her mother asking about work, about Emily's apartment, about the weather. Never mentioning Sarah's engagement. Never slipping up. Never showing guilt. Barbara Carter had looked her daughter in the eye, metaphorically speaking, and lied with perfect composure for months. Emily needed to understand why. What had she actually done that was so terrible? She pulled out a journal and started writing down every instance her mother had mentioned in their confrontation. Sarah's high school graduation where Emily had arrived late. Sarah's college acceptance overshadowed by Emily's promotion. Every accusation her mother had made. For the high school graduation, Emily had been driving from college. Her car had broken down on the highway. She'd called her parents in a panic, almost in tears. Her father had told her to wait for the tow truck, that they'd save her a seat at the ceremony. She'd arrived during the reception, apologizing profusely to everyone. Sarah had hugged her and said it was fine, that she understood. Or had she? Had Sarah been secretly hurt, hiding her disappointment behind a forced smile? The college acceptance day, Emily had shared her promotion news at a family dinner. She'd been excited. It was her first big career achievement. But yes, the dinner had been planned to celebrate Sarah's acceptance to Yale. Emily had thought they could celebrate both things together. She hadn't realized she was stealing anything. Looking at it from Sarah's perspective, Emily could almost understand. Almost. But did these small moments, these unintentional slights, really justify excluding her from a wedding? Did they justify her mother's campaign to turn Sarah against her? Emily picked up her phone and called her father. Robert Carter had been quiet during all of this. He'd been in the wedding photos, smiling but somehow less enthusiastic than everyone else. Maybe he would give her straight answers. "Dad, it's Emily." "Hi, sweetheart." His voice was heavy, tired. "I was wondering when you'd call. Did you know about the plan to keep me away from the wedding?" There was a long silence. "I knew." The admission hurt almost as much as the betrayal itself. "Why didn't you stop it? Why didn't you tell me?" "Because I'm a coward, Emily. Because your mother was determined, and I've learned over 30 years of marriage that when Barbara makes up her mind, there's no changing it." "That's not an excuse, Dad. I'm your daughter too." "I know. And I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, Emily. I told your mother this was wrong. I told her you'd be devastated. But she was convinced this was what Sarah needed. And Sarah agreed. What was I supposed to do? Fight for me? Defend me? Tell me the truth?" "You're right. I should have. I failed you, Emily. I've been failing you for a long time." His words hung in the air. "What do you mean, for a long time?" Robert let out a shaky breath. "Your mother has always had a complicated relationship with you. You're so much like her. Ambitious, driven, successful. She sees herself in you. But she also sees everything she gave up to be a mother. And sometimes, I think she resents you for having the life she wanted." Emily had never heard her father speak this honestly about her mother. "And Sarah? Sarah is easier for your mother. Sarah needed more help, more guidance. Your mother felt more useful with Sarah. You were always so independent. You didn't need her the same way. And I think that hurt her more than she'd ever admit. So she pushed me away. Not consciously. But yes. Over time, she invested more in Sarah. Made Sarah her project. And you became the benchmark they were measuring against, which wasn't fair to either of you. Does Sarah hate me? No, honey. Sarah doesn't hate you. But she's been listening to your mother's narrative for so long that she believes it. She believes you overshadow her. She believes you don't care about her feelings. Your mother has been very persuasive. What do I do now, Dad? I don't know. But I think you need to wait until Sarah comes back from her honeymoon and talk to her directly. Without your mother there. Sister to sister. That's the only way you'll get the truth." Emily ended the call feeling somehow worse. Her father's honesty, while appreciated, revealed a family dynamic even more dysfunctional than she'd realized. Her mother resented her success. Her sister believed lies about her character. And her father was too weak to stand up for her. The week Sarah was on her honeymoon was the longest week of Emily's life. She threw herself into work, staying at the office until midnight, volunteering for every project anyone would give her. Her colleagues noticed the change but didn't ask questions. Emily was grateful for their silence. At night, alone in her apartment, Emily cried. She cried for the relationship with her mother that she'd thought existed but apparently never had. She cried for her sister, who'd felt inadequate for so long. And she cried for herself, for being the villain in a story she didn't even know she was part of. Jessica came over with wine and Thai food and let Emily vent for 3 hours straight. "Your family is messed up," Jessica said finally. "You know that, right? This isn't normal. This isn't something you did. This is them. But what if they're right? What if I have been selfish and I just didn't realize it?" "Emily, stop. I've known you for 10 years. You're one of the most thoughtful people I know. You remember everyone's birthdays. You send care packages to your friends when they're stressed. You volunteered at that homeless shelter every Christmas. You're not selfish. Your family is gaslighting you. The word hit Emily hard. Gaslighting. Making her doubt her own perception of reality. Making her question her own character. Was that what her mother had been doing? Not just to her, but to Sarah too. Emily's story is about to take a turn that will change everything. What Emily discovers next will shock you, and trust me, the best part of this story is still coming. If you're hooked on Emily's journey, don't forget to subscribe so you never miss stories like this one. Because what's about to unfold will leave you speechless. Sarah came home on a Friday. Emily knew because Sarah posted a photo from the airport with a caption about being glad to be back in Connecticut. Emily had been waiting for this moment, dreading it and needing it at the same time. She called Sarah immediately. The phone rang 5 times before Sarah picked up. Emily. Sarah's voice was cautious, guarded. Can we talk? Please. Just the two of us. I don't think that's a good idea right now. Sarah, please. I just want to understand what happened. I want to hear your side of the story. There was a long pause. Emily could hear voices in the background. Fine. But not at Mom's house. And not at yours. Somewhere neutral. They agreed to meet at a coffee shop halfway between Boston and Hartford. The kind of chain coffee shop that existed everywhere and nowhere, completely impersonal. Perfect for a conversation that might end in either reconciliation or complete estrangement. Emily arrived early. She ordered a latte she didn't want and sat by the window, watching cars pull into the parking lot, wondering which one held her sister. When Sarah finally walked through the door, Emily's breath caught. Sarah looked different. Older somehow. Married. Happy. The kind of glow people talked about but Emily had always thought was exaggerated. Apparently not. Sarah sat down across from Emily without ordering anything. She folded her hands on the table, and Emily could see the wedding ring, a simple gold band with small diamonds. It was beautiful. Emily would never have the chance to help pick it out. I'm sorry, Sarah said immediately. I'm sorry you found out the way you did. That wasn't right. Emily hadn't expected an apology. She didn't know what to say. Why, Sarah? Just tell me why. Sarah's eyes filled with tears. Because I was tired, Emily. I was so tired of being your little sister. The one who wasn't as smart, wasn't as accomplished, wasn't as perfect. I wanted one day where I was the center of attention. One day where every conversation wasn't ultimately about you. But I never tried to make things about me. I never wanted to compete with you. You didn't have to try. It just happened. Everyone always compared me to you. And you were always better. Always smarter. Always more successful. Do you know what it's like living in someone's shadow your entire life? Emily reached across the table, but Sarah pulled her hands back. I didn't know you felt that way. You never told me. How could I? You were my big sister. I looked up to you. But looking up to someone and being constantly compared to them are two different things. Every achievement I ever had, someone would say, well, Emily did it this way, or Emily achieved that at a younger age. I could never just be Sarah. I was always Emily's little sister. That's not my fault. I didn't ask people to compare us. I know. Logically, I know that. But it doesn't change how it made me feel. And Mom understood. She was the only one who ever made me feel like I was enough on my own. She supported me. She validated my feelings. She helped me see that I didn't have to accept being second best. Emily felt anger rising in her chest. And the way she helped you was by excluding me from your wedding? By turning you against me? She didn't turn me against you. She just helped me realize that I didn't owe you a place in my life if you were making me feel bad about myself. But I wasn't trying to make you feel bad. Sarah, I love you. You're my sister. Every success you had, I celebrated. Every time you struggled, I wanted to help. I never meant to hurt you. Sarah wiped tears from her cheeks. Maybe you didn't mean to. But you did. And I'm tired of pretending it doesn't matter. So this is it. You exclude me from your wedding, and now we just don't have a relationship anymore. I don't know, Emily. I don't know what we have anymore. Maybe we never really had a sisterhood. Maybe we just had a relationship built on obligation and genetics. The words cut deep. Emily had come here hoping for understanding, maybe even reconciliation. But Sarah seemed determined to justify the betrayal rather than repair the damage. Did you ever think, Emily said carefully, that Mom might have her own reasons for driving a wedge between us? That maybe her support wasn't entirely about what's best for you? Sarah's face hardened. Don't try to turn this on Mom. She's the only one who's ever really been there for me. She's there for you by making me the villain. Don't you see that? She's created an enemy for you to fight against, and that enemy is me. But I'm not your enemy, Sarah. I never was. You don't get to tell me how to feel about my own experiences. No, but I can point out when someone is manipulating those experiences. Did Mom ever suggest therapy? Family counseling? Any healthy way to address these feelings you had? Or did she just feed your resentment and encourage you to cut me out? Sarah stood up abruptly. I'm not going to sit here and let you attack Mom. She's been more of a mother to me than you've been a sister. Sarah, please. Sit down. Let's talk about this. But Sarah was already walking toward the door. She turned back once, and Emily saw something in her sister's face that looked almost like regret. But it was gone in a second, replaced by cold determination. Congratulations on your wedding, Emily called out. Her voice broke on the last word. I hope he makes you happy. Sarah didn't respond. She walked out of the coffee shop, got into her car, and drove away. Emily sat there for another hour, staring at her cold latte, feeling like she'd just lost something irreplaceable. Over the next 2 weeks, Emily did something she'd never done before. She started seeing a therapist. Dr. Rachel Morrison specialized in family dynamics and trauma. Emily had never thought of her family as traumatic before, but after the first session, she realized that's exactly what it had been. What you're describing, Dr. Morrison said during their third session, is a classic case of triangulation. Your mother positioned herself as the apex of a triangle, with you and Sarah on the other points. She maintained control by ensuring you two never had a strong direct relationship. Everything went through her. But we were close when we were kids. Children often are. But as you grew older and your mother's own issues became more prominent, she found ways to keep you separated emotionally. Small comments here, planting seeds of doubt there. Over years, it builds into what you're experiencing now. So what do I do? That depends on what you want. Do you want a relationship with your mother? With your sister? Emily thought about it. Did she? I want them to acknowledge what they did was wrong. I want an apology. I want to understand why. Those are all valid wants. But you may not get them. Narcissistic parents rarely apologize. And children who've been enmeshed with a narcissistic parent often can't see the manipulation because it feels like love. Is my mother a narcissist? I can't diagnose someone I've never met. But some of the patterns you're describing fit. The favoritism, the need for control, the inability to tolerate your independence, the triangulation. These are all classic behaviors. Emily left that session feeling both validated and devastated. Validated because someone finally confirmed she wasn't crazy, that the situation was objectively dysfunctional. Devastated because it meant the family she'd thought she had never really existed. She threw herself into research. Books about narcissistic mothers, about golden child and scapegoat dynamics, about family systems theory. The more she read, the more she recognized her own experiences on every page. Sarah had been the golden child, the one who needed mom's help, the one who made mom feel necessary. Emily had been the scapegoat, blamed for family dysfunction, punished for her independence. It should have made Emily feel better to understand the psychology behind it. Instead, it made her feel worse. Because understanding meant accepting that her mother likely would never change. That Sarah might never see the truth. That the family Emily had believed in was a fiction. Emily decided to write a letter. Not to send, but to process her feelings. It was something Dr. Morrison had suggested. Write what you want to say without the pressure of actually saying it. The letter ended up being 10 pages long. Everything Emily had wanted to say at the coffee shop but couldn't find the words for. Everything she wished she could make Sarah understand. Everything she wanted her mother to acknowledge. In the letter, Emily forgave Sarah. Not because Sarah deserved it, but because Emily needed to let go of the anger that was consuming her. She forgave her mother too, in a way. Not for what she'd done, but for being human and flawed and unable to be the parent Emily had needed. But forgiveness didn't mean reconciliation. Emily realized she couldn't have a healthy relationship with people who refused to acknowledge the harm they'd caused. She couldn't keep hoping her family would suddenly become the family she wanted them to be. It was while Emily was addressing the envelope, still unsure if she'd ever send the letter, that her phone rang. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer. Is this Emily Carter? A man's voice, unfamiliar. Yes, who is this? This is Detective James Ramirez with the Hartford Police Department. I'm calling about your mother, Barbara Carter. Emily's heart stopped. What happened? Is she okay? She's in the hospital, ma'am. She collapsed at home this morning. Your father asked me to contact you. Emily grabbed her keys. The letter fell to the floor, forgotten. She was in her car and driving before she even processed what she was doing. Her mother was in the hospital. All the anger, all the betrayal, none of it mattered in that moment. She just needed her mother to be okay. The drive to Hartford Hospital took 90 minutes. Emily barely remembered it. She found her father in the waiting room outside the ICU. He looked like he'd aged 10 years in the 2 weeks since Emily had last seen him. His face was gray, his hands shaking. Dad. Emily hugged him. He held on to her like she was the only solid thing in a collapsing world. She had a stroke, he said. A bad one. They don't know if she's going to make it. Sarah appeared from around the corner, holding 2 cups of coffee. She saw Emily and stopped. For a moment, the sisters just looked at each other. Then Sarah set the coffee down and walked over. Without a word, she put her arms around Emily. Both of them started crying. I'm sorry, Sarah whispered. Emily, I'm so sorry. They sat together in the waiting room for 3 hours before a doctor came out. Barbara had survived, but she'd suffered significant brain damage. She might recover some function, but it would take time. Months, maybe years. And she might never be the same person she was before. Emily, Sarah, and their father went into Barbara's room together. She was unconscious, hooked up to machines, looking small and fragile in the hospital bed. This woman who had controlled so much of their lives, who had orchestrated such an elaborate deception, now looked powerless. I can't lose her, Sarah said quietly. I know what she did was wrong, but she's still our mom. Emily took Sarah's hand. I know. Over the next few days, Emily and Sarah talked. Really talked, for the first time in years. Without their mother there to mediate or manipulate, they had to face each other directly. It was awkward and painful, but it was also necessary. Sarah admitted that their mother had been feeding her negative stories about Emily for years. Little comments about Emily being selfish, Emily not caring about family, Emily thinking she was better than everyone else. Sarah had believed these stories because they confirmed her own insecurities. I wanted to believe them, Sarah confessed. Because if you were the bad guy, then my feelings of inadequacy weren't my fault. They were your fault for making me feel that way. But I never tried to make you feel inadequate. I know that now. I'm starting to understand that Mom projected her own issues onto both of us. She made me dependent on her validation, and she pushed you away for being too independent. We were both victims of her dysfunction, just in different ways. Emily asked the question that had been haunting her. If Mom hadn't had the stroke, would you have ever realized this? Would we ever have had this conversation? Sarah was quiet for a long time. I don't know. Maybe not. I was pretty committed to my narrative. It was easier than examining my own role in our relationship. What changed? Almost losing her made me realize that family is fragile. Life is fragile. And I didn't want my last interaction with you to be that conversation at the coffee shop. I didn't want to live with that regret. Barbara was in the hospital for 2 weeks before being transferred to a rehabilitation facility. Her recovery was slow. She regained consciousness but had difficulty speaking. The doctors said it was too early to know how much function she'd recover. Emily visited every few days, splitting time with Sarah and their father. It was strange, seeing her mother so vulnerable. All the power she'd wielded over their family was gone. She couldn't manipulate. She couldn't control the narrative. She could barely communicate. One afternoon, Emily was alone with her mother when Barbara's eyes focused on her. Really focused, with recognition and clarity. She tried to speak, but the words wouldn't come. Frustration crossed her face. Then tears. Emily held her mother's hand. It's okay, Mom. Don't try to talk. But Barbara was struggling, clearly trying to say something important. Finally, a single word came out, barely audible, sorry. It wasn't enough. One word couldn't fix years of damage, couldn't undo the wedding betrayal, couldn't repair what had been broken. But it was something. It was acknowledgement. I know, Emily said. I know, Mom. Over the following months, Barbara slowly improved. She regained more speech, though she tired easily and sometimes struggled to find words. The stroke had changed her personality somewhat. She was softer, less controlling. Whether that was neurological damage or a genuine shift in her character, Emily couldn't say. Maybe it didn't matter. The family started going to therapy together. It was Sarah's idea. She'd been seeing her own therapist and realized how much work all of them needed to do. Barbara was resistant at first, but her limited ability to argue meant she got outvoted. In therapy, things came out that had been buried for decades. Barbara admitted she'd been jealous of Emily's relationship with her father. She admitted she'd felt replaced when Emily was born, like her husband's attention shifted away from her. She admitted she'd overcompensated with Sarah because Sarah's neediness made Barbara feel valued in a way Emily's independence never had. It was painful to hear. Emily grieved for the mother she'd never really had, the childhood that could have been different if Barbara had dealt with her issues instead of projecting them onto her daughters. But slowly, things began to heal. Not perfectly. Not completely. But enough. Sarah and Emily started having weekly phone calls. They talked about things besides family drama. They recommended books to each other. They complained about work. They were building a relationship based on who they actually were, not on who they'd been expected to be. Emily met Sarah's husband, David. He was kind and funny and clearly adored Sarah. Emily could see why her sister had fallen in love with him. They had dinner together, the three of them, and it was almost normal. Almost like they were a regular family. On what would have been the 1-year anniversary of Sarah's wedding, the date Emily would never forget, Sarah called with an unexpected proposal. David and I are going to renew our vows. Something small, just close family and friends. And I want you there, Emily. I need you there. I need to do this right. Emily felt tears welling up. Are you sure? I've never been more sure of anything. That wedding, the one you weren't at, it doesn't feel real to me anymore. It feels like something Mom orchestrated, not something I actually chose. I want to choose this time. With you there to witness it. The vow renewal ceremony took place in a small garden in early autumn. Maybe 20 people attended. Emily stood next to Sarah as she and David exchanged new vows, vows they'd written themselves. Vows that acknowledged they were building a marriage based on honesty and communication, not on hiding parts of themselves or their lives from the people who mattered. When it was over, Sarah hugged Emily tight. Thank you for not giving up on me. You're my sister. I could never give up on you. Barbara was there too, in a wheelchair, still recovering but present. She couldn't say much, but she reached for both her daughter's hands and held them together. It wasn't exactly an apology. But it was an acknowledgement. A recognition that she'd kept them apart and now wanted them together. Emily's father gave a short toast. To second chances. To truth. To family, however imperfect it may be. Everyone raised their glasses. Emily caught Sarah's eye across the table and smiled. They had a long way to go. Years of dysfunction couldn't be fixed in a few months of therapy and good intentions. But they were trying. That had to count for something. Later that evening, as guests were leaving, Emily found herself alone with her mother for a moment. Barbara's speech had improved enough for short conversations. Emily, Barbara said slowly. I was wrong. About so many things. I know, Mom. I pushed you away because you didn't need me. That wasn't fair. No, it wasn't. But I understand why you did it. That doesn't make it okay, but I understand. Barbara nodded, tears in her eyes. I'm trying to be better. I know you are. It wasn't forgiveness, not completely. Emily wasn't sure she'd ever fully forgive the betrayal, the systematic exclusion, the lies. But she could accept that her mother was human and flawed and doing her best, even if that best had caused so much damage. As Emily drove back to Boston that night, she thought about how much had changed in 1 year. She'd lost a family she thought she had. But she'd gained an understanding of the family she actually had. And maybe, slowly, she was building the family she wanted. Her phone buzzed. A text from Sarah, thank you for coming today. Thank you for giving me another chance. I love you, big sister. Emily smiled through tears and typed back, I love you too. So what do you think? Could you forgive your family if they did this to you? Would you have given them a second chance like Emily did, or would you have walked away for good? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if this story moved you, if it made you think about your own family relationships, hit that subscribe button. We share stories like this every week, stories that remind us we're not alone in our struggles, that families are complicated, and that healing is always possible, even when it seems impossible. Thanks for being here, and I'll see you in the next story.